Lay down, sir. Lay down. Good morning, everybody, on this beautiful Wednesday morning. And yeah, the COVID has been mutating. I think last week I was starting to feel tired, but I just didn't know where it came from. But I was taking naps and everything. I was telling my friends, oh, I'm tired. And I was tired over the weekend. And then really just came to a head yesterday. So yeah, this COVID is mutating. This is not some conspiracy theory, okay? This COVID exists. Now, the reason why I don't have any headaches that I know of or any other issue that people would have as far as their symptoms is because I've been through the initial adaptation process of the COVID. I've already been through the sniffles, the sneezing, the headaches, the diarrhea, body aches, whatever it was, way since like between February to like April, maybe May. Okay. And so my adaptation to the virus, the evolutionary adaptation of the virus has become easier. Yeah. Being tired, I'm telling you, yesterday I was pouring water into the coffee thing, poured it in the wrong size. I have two coffee makers that are attached to each other. One is a single serve, one is a carafe. I was pouring the carafe in the single serve going like, why is it overflowing? This never happened before. And so, yeah, you can have COVID brain for a minute. Did I get tested and prove it? No, but I know what the predominant virus is in the environment, okay? It's not too much rocket science. Not because the media told me, because I know that I'm pretty much immune to the flu. And so, thanks, Tiffany. And so I know it's not the flu. People are like, oh, well, how come the flu hasn't been around? Because the flu isn't the predominant virus. Most people are immune to the flu. Now there is a COVID that's going to influence the flu and mutate it as well. So if you're seeing your body, mind, and spirit kind of go through its different stages right now, especially with them releasing everybody from home and not everybody wants to wear masks, which I understand. Yeah, you're going to see a mutation. Okay. Now, some of you are taking your pick-me-ups, you're doing your monsters, your major coffees. Like if I wanted to have like a Starbucks at 3:00 in the afternoon on Sunday, on Father's Day. And we were like, okay, maybe I shouldn't, but I didn't. And so, I knew if I did a Starbucks, I would have felt better. But why would I be taking Starbucks? To bring up hormones, to bring up adrenaline. Okay, so if you are so used to bringing up adrenaline, drinking your monsters, drinking your Starbucks, drinking all the different pick-me-ups, it's going to be harder to detect how COVID is affecting you. But also, I've been on this protocol for 4 years. Okay, so I've already been through the predominant healing process of my own body, mind, and spirit predispositions. So those of you that are doing the J juice or just starting it, and dealing with the COVID, you may have totally different symptoms that I could not even tell you what you're going to have because it's all based upon your background, your predispositions. But I'll tell you what, with 11 systems in your body, the symptoms are not going to be that different than anybody else's, okay? It'll be a different combination happening at different times, but they're not going to be that different, all right? So, any symptom you have at this point is going to be your predispositions coming up if you're doing J juice, as well as potentially COVID exposure. All right. So my book that's out right now, I have on the cover of the book, and I'm getting it tomorrow. It has viruses on the cover. And then it has, the evolution, the J juice protocol, and it says, can humans live indefinitely despite their environment? And you have to wonder how we are able to adapt to our current surroundings today. And amidst all these different viruses, from the AIDS virus to the flu virus to the genovirus, whatever, to all these different viruses. You can Google all the viruses in the world. And you wonder how it is that humanity hasn't been wiped off the planet with all of these viruses. Well, let me tell you, viruses are the key to evolution. The reason why people get cancer, disease, and chronic illness is because they get infection because they have an imbalance in their microbiome, causing antibodies to go in, and then too much protection can destroy a person. So when you get infection, that's too many antibodies. Okay, infection comes, a cancer comes from infection. Okay, and so because I remember doing the research when I was looking at cancer and where it came from. Cancer is not a fungus. Cancer is not, from toxins. Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say toxins are an overabundance or an imbalance in your microbiome. But what does that mean? People like to put toxins like, oh yeah, fluoride's a toxin. Oh yeah, Roundup is a toxin. No, it's just freaking minerals. If you have a very good filtration system in your body, you'll be able to release the excess minerals, balance out your microbiome, because your microbiome has viruses, parasites, protozoa, protein, bacteria, and fungus. And there's a balance. You cannot get rid of parasites altogether. You cannot get rid of viruses. You can't kill a virus. The virus needs a host. You're the host, okay? You can't take away the protozoa. You can't take away the proteins. Those are in your cells. You can't take away the bacteria or the fungus because you have yeast in your body. That was initially what caused jelly juice to happen to begin with, because I thought that candida was the root cause. No, it's just one component of the microbiome. Okay, and then it does get fed by excess minerals and also sugars. And so that's why the jelly juice protocol evolved, because we realized that candida, the yeast, was not the foundation. It was an imbalance in the whole environment. And then that imbalance causes then antibodies, causes excess antibodies, to where if you're exposed to something that you have too much of in your system, you'll go into inflammation, and then more antibodies try to fight it off, thinking it's the enemy. And then those antibodies also attack you when it becomes too much. That's where autoimmune disorders come from, is when you have too many antibodies. Okay, so viruses are the key to evolution, but you have to be able to make sure that your body is able to handle it. So a well-balanced body, a well-balanced person could handle these viruses that are mutating in the environment. Yes, you're going to go through an upset of homeostasis, but I'm telling you, my upset of homeostasis is nowhere near the extreme upset of homeostasis, like people who have cancer and who have died. People who have died from exposure to viruses is because they don't have a balanced body to be able to handle that exposure. Anyone that dies out there has an inability to adapt to their environment. And viruses have always been around ever since the beginning of mankind. It's part of the microbiome. We start off with like proteins. We were proteins way before we became a person. And then those proteins then had the protozoa. So the proteins turned into a microbiome and turned into this person. So the microbiome, again, is we have the proteins, right? We grew in the ocean because we're halophiles. That's why salt is not poisonous. And so we were helped by the viruses, the parasites, the protozoa, the proteins, the fungus, and the bacteria, all created who we are. That's in our gut. That's all over our body, mind, and spirit, everything. And then our behaviors are manifestations of imbalances in our microbiome, or balance. It just depends on where you are on that spectrum of balance and imbalance. Okay, so viruses will never be something that you kill or you get rid of or you destroy because you destroy the host. A virus needs a host. Okay, a virus needs a host. So if you're taking antivirals, you're destroying the host. You're destroying yourself. Anything anti-inflammatory, anti-parasite, antibiotic, antifungal, antimicrobial, anti-protozoa, whatever you want to, anti-whatever, antibiotics, painkillers, all of that stuff is destroying the host, which is you. So then what do? How do you balance out your environment to where you're able to handle the balance of the microbiome, where you're able to release and then accumulate what you need and release the excess? Well, you have to bring in the right chemistry. You're a halophile. You were born in freaking salt. You need salt. You need water. You need probiotics, which is lactobacillus. Those are the bacteria. Those are the bacteria, the live bacteria. That's all. I'm drinking a live drink. And that's why people who are vegans and vegetarians are like, oh, you can't eat dead animals. Yeah, you can. It has a major data pack of viruses, bacteria, protozoa, protein, bacteria, and fungus in a very advanced form. But if you have so much sludge in your colon and in all of your intestines, it's going to be harder to digest it. So that's why the J juice is around, to energize the immune system, bring in the bacteria, the gut bacteria, the lactobacillus, the endospores that can handle a high salinity environment, and then push out the excess, clean out your cells, clean out your colon, clean out your intestines, and clean out the cobwebs in your body, mind, and spirit in your brain. So that way you can actually think and organize correctly. And so that's when people start evolving. They start thinking in a much different form. They're not living from their emotions. They're not tapping into all these different activist stances, because no matter what, no matter which side you take out there in politics, you're going to offend somebody. I mean, I'm watching, I was reading this article on Facebook about Candace Owens saying something about reproduction and who can bear a baby, and it got me in trouble too. Okay, with Dr. Phil, but whatever. But the whole thing of the chili juice is that we don't mention sexual orientation because that's really irrelevant. We don't really mention reproduction, as far as which side to take. All I can tell you is with the J juice is that you won't have a need to reproduce. If you are the best copy of yourself, there'll be no need to go and look for someone to go and make babies with, regardless of their sexual orientation. It doesn't even matter. Forget the name man and woman. That doesn't even exist really in our society anymore, because you can't now say anything about that. If you're human and you're able to bear a baby, regardless of your gender identity, it doesn't even matter. You're fine. That's fine. But the whole chili juice is stepping away from that, because that is like the old model. Okay? It's about that if you are the best copy, there won't be a need for reproduction. You won't want to bear any babies. You're not going to be chasing tail 24/7. Your hormones are going to be so relaxed that it's not going to be a driving force. You're going to have your mind in higher elevated types of thought processes where it's not about the baser instincts. Because baser instincts is feeding, clothing, like feeding yourself, clothing yourself, shelter, water, food, like I said, feeding yourself, and reproduction. And then protection, and then acquiring things, safety, and all that stuff. Okay, but there's so much out there in the world that we can accomplish. There's so much that feeding to our baser instincts becomes then not a non-issue. It's not the driving force. If you know that you have to assimilate to your surroundings and you want companionship, there's certain requirements that need to be met when you are trying to assimilate to an environment that's still dealing with their baser instincts. So you balance that out. You don't eradicate, the things that people do find very important altogether, because that's not adapting to your environment. Chili juice helps people adapt to their environment. So if they're with somebody who happens to like all of those baser instincts, well, you find a way to balance that out. If you find a happy medium, someone that's successful in their job, has a little bit of money, and so that they can actually hold on to money, and yes, they have desires and all that crap. Okay, fine. Just balance it all out. Everything is about balance. Okay? So it's like the whole point of ages is to evolve. And so viruses are going to be the key to evolution, but you have to have a very well-balanced body, mind, and spirit, which means you have to be able to go through the waterfalls, go through all of the predispositions that you've suppressed in your whole life. You have to deal with your family genetic history, and that there's cancer in your family, which means you have imbalances, and sometimes they're in your breast, sometimes they're in your uterus, sometimes they're in your brain, but you have this family genetic history of all these different predispositions. You're going to have to face that, okay? For you to really get benefit from these viruses in the environment, to keep evolving to the next level, you have to deal with the issues in your body first. And then it translates to the mind, and then the spirit, and then you will be very in tune with your environment. You will see indicators all over the place. Like I knew that the virus is mutating because my dog had to upgrade. She's like a short little thing. Okay? She's a small little canary in the coal mine. So I can tell when she's trying to adapt to the environment that I'm going to be dealing with something in my environment, because she is a major indicator. And so you listen to indicators. You listen to red flags, you listen to indicators. You don't ignore, you don't fantasize. You don't pretend they don't exist, because that's really, why we're here, why we are in the situation we're in, is because people pretend things don't exist. They're fantasizing about the future, fantasizing about the now, They're not dealing with reality. And so I knew when my dog was going through her adaptation process that I'm going through some kind of upgrade too. And sure enough, I am, because I've been really freaking tired this last week. Okay, but no headaches. No, I mean, a little bit of brain foggy. Yes. I mean, trying to make coffee the other day, I put it in the wrong thing. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? But I realized that it's the COVID, because now I'm hearing, a confirmation from like CNN. And then I have friends that are going through headaches. They're like, this is so weird. I mean, I can't believe where this has come from. Yeah, I've been through I went through 6 days of a throbbing headache a couple of weeks ago. So I know exactly what they're going through, and they're taking aspirin, they're taking all these different things. Okay? But some people are going to have a harder time to adapt to this evolutionary leap. And this virus is an evolutionary leap. So either you're able to handle it and get to the next level, or you're going to succumb to it and maybe potentially have 10 years taken off your life. So even though you might survive the COVID and you're not on J juice, or you're doing J juice just a tiny little bit, and you deal with the symptoms, like, oh yeah, I feel better, I feel great. And if you're not doing J juice, you are seeing your telomeres shorten it every single time you go through an adaptation process. You have to really support your body going through this adaptation process. And yesterday I was eating so much food. Not a lot, but I was eating a lot of food. I was eating some pasta with some sesame oil and Napa cabbage with sesame seeds and some little bit of garlic. And what else do I have with that? Like some teriyaki sauce on that. And then I had like some brie cheese and some crackers. And then I had some cereal. I mean, I was eating a lot. But you have to, when you're trying to upgrade to the next level and you've healed and sealed, when you've sealed your gut, food is going to be what's going to keep you going. I mean, I had chicken too. I had chicken. Was that yesterday or the day before? I forget. But I also had chicken, like the canned chicken from Walmart, and I put in some mayonnaise, and I had crackers with that. So it's like your body needs the protein. It needs the vegetables. It needs the carbs. It needs all of this diverse amount of food, because if you're adapting to a new environment, you have to feed your body. And I did do a shot of J juice, I think on Sunday. Or Monday, I did a shot of J juice, because I'm like, okay, I know I'm going through some kind of adaptation. All the food that I'm eating, I have to make sure that it gets processed through and released. And so for me to adapt to this next mutation of this virus, I have to feed my body. And I know that with the J juice, I've sealed my body. I've sealed my gut to where I can take in and maximize my nutritional benefit. The reason why people are aging and degrading is because they're eating food and they're not maximizing the benefit of the food. That's what aging is that you're taking in food that you're not getting benefit from. You're getting a little bit. Yeah, it's giving you some energy to go to work every day, but you're seeing your body degrade. You're seeing your hair start going gray. You're trying to color your hair. You're doing all these things to make you look younger. You're seeing your body, you're feeling all of your predispositions. You're feeling your family genetic history come to surface. You're watching your kids grow up and they're beautiful, but then you know that down the road, they're going to end up like you, aging because you have leaky gut. You're not maximizing your nutritional intake. And so with the J juice, you have to deal with releasing the excess poop in your colon and in your intestines. And you got to deal with the pain, the predispositions that you have brought to this world, as well as what was given to you by your parents, your predecessors. And you have to deal with that. Then you can be able to really easily maneuver through microbiomes, and you'll know when you're sneezing or you're blowing your nose that your body has taken in some elements, and it's also releasing. Okay, when you're doing the J juice and you're blowing your nose, yeah, your body's releasing the excess. Excess of what? Whatever is harboring within you. And sometimes there's so much probiotics in the J juice that yes, the body does release the excess excess stuff in the J juice. If you already have enough lactobacillus, if you have lactic acidosis, well, your body will release any excess acids. And that's why when people do J juice and they do waterfalls, their bum can be a little bit sore and burning because yes, all the excess acid that you've kept in your body that's melting your insides is now finally being released. Okay, some of you are harboring so much crap. Literally, you're harboring so much crap. So that's why we've been known as a poop cult, because we're releasing the excess poop. But it's not only poop, it's everything else. And it comes out in poop because that's how you release. I mean, aside from earwax and mucus, and sebum and skin, flaking off and everything, but poop and pee and all that, that is how the body releases the excess so you're able to handle your environment so you don't die from overaccumulation of your environment. Okay? And so this COVID virus is not a bad thing, but it's only a bad thing for people who are weak, who are aging. And even if you survive these different mutations, you're going to see years come off your life. So just because you survived and lived through all the different mutations of COVID, whether it's the first wave or the second wave, if you're not doing J-juice, you're going to see in your life expectancy going down, 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 down. And so J-juice says, okay, no, we're not going to allow you to die. We're going to now give you the nutritional intake, healing and sealing to where you can maximize benefit of the food supply and you'll be able to handle the adaptation process. Because how many people can go to a concert, when they're like 90 years old, a really loud concert, 90, 91, 92. They can't, if they have ear issues and they have sensitivity issues, whatever, they can't adapt to that kind of aggressive environment. But someone who's young, who's able to handle loud music and all that other stuff, they'll be able to adapt to that kind of environment. So if, when you realize you can't adapt to certain environments, you realize how much of it at a deficit you are. So when I blow my nose, I'm getting rid of the excess. When I blow my nose early in the morning, I know I have to poop. I pooped a lot this morning from everything that I did yesterday. So when I wake up congested, because I know that I have poop in my system, and guess what? When I'm pooping, I blow my nose too at the same time, and it helps bring out the poop. You see, your alimentary canal is connected from right here all the way to your butt. But if you have blockages or issues from points in between, you're going to see that there's going to be then diagnosable diseases. And that's why people get their appendix taken out. That's why people get their gallbladder taken out. They have pancreatic issues. They have, stomach cancer and all these different cancers and, uterus cancer and cervical cancer and ovarian cancer, because also too, those that have so much extracurricular activities are putting so much activity down there and causing more destruction down there. If you have predispositions, it could leave, that person open for cancer down there. Okay? And so if you look at the porn industry, a lot of people that die from cancer die from, ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, penile cancer. Okay? Because of all that aggressive activity down there, because a person is not actively regenerating the cells that are being damaged on a daily basis. And if you're doing porn industry on a daily basis, you are damaging your body on a daily basis. Imagine someone that's out there all the time having indiscriminate, relations, how much damage is being done. Not because of the viruses, because of the trauma to different parts of their body. Okay, when you're constantly when you're dealing with like therapies out there, you're doing trauma to your body. Okay, when first responders go to all these different, the adrenaline coming up and the law enforcement and firefighters and ambulance, they're dealing with trauma all the time. It's always fight or flight. Got to get there, got to get there. Then they have to go home and try to like relax, but they're so amped up. And then that's where, sometimes domestic violence happens in some of these families because some people cannot turn off their adrenaline. And so they become hair trigger. And then pain is like this association with certain things. And that's then why you see PTSD and other types of stuff. It's a chain reaction of events when you are traumatizing your body on a daily basis and you're not actively regenerating. And so viruses are like the body's indicators letting you know what you have to deal with. What is it that is weak in your body? So this new mutation with the COVID realizes that, my body needs to rest. There isn't anything specific. I'm just tired. There is nothing that's in pain in any part of my body. But I remember a couple weeks ago or about a month ago, I had the throbbing headache for 6 freaking days. So I knew something was recalibrating on the right side of my brain. But now that now that COVID is mutating, I'm just tired, which means my body is trying to adapt. It needs to rest. And when your body needs rest, you need to give it rest. But when people are covering up their tiredness with adrenaline producing types of drinks, then that's when they bring up the hormones. And sometimes some people's hormones don't turn off. And they continuously produce, and that's what shortens your telomeres, which is your lifespan. Those are little caps on each end of your chromosomes that hold all of your data. And then the RNA is than what part of the Y and the X. Okay, where it's the ribonucleic acid. It replicates, the replication process. So the DNA is like, the deoxynucleic acid is like your original innate form, and then the RNA is then how it replicates and keeps regenerating. Okay, so that's kind of the best way I can explain it. There's probably a better way, but that's probably the best way right now on the fly. Okay, so viruses are not so that's why my book is so important for you to understand that viruses are not the issue. They're the ones that are the indicators that people ignore. And so when you're watching TV like CNN or Fox, and they're like, oh my God, you got to kill the virus. Here, take all these antivirals. And you're listening to your doctors going, oh, we need an antiviral, you need an antibiotic, you need an anti-this, anti-that. They are shortening your telomeres. They are systematically destroying you because you asked for it. You want to be pain-free. You want to not earn any kind of healing process, but you think that being pain-free with these shortcuts is earning a healing process. No, that's actually destroying you and your family. Because your kids are going to take cues from you. Oh yeah, mommy took all these different drugs for all these different issues, so I'm going to do the same thing too. And that gets taught over and over and over again until that whole genetic line is completely destroyed. And so now the whole Dilly Juice is saying, hey, we don't have to go down those roads. We can break that chain of destruction in families. Break that domestic violence, break that chain of drugs and alcohol and indiscriminate sex and abuse and all that stuff. And let's do something different. Let's elevate ourselves, elevate our body, mind, and spirit. Then you become more competitive in the market because you're going to have a clear mind. You're going to be around a while. You know, when someone's like, doing dog grooming and they've been around for freaking like 80, 90, 100 years. Oh yeah, this person has taken care of my dog for 50, 60 years and they're still going strong. It's going to be weird, yes, because people haven't fully understood really the benefits of J juice, but when you've been around longer than your competition out there, that's going to bring people to you because you've been around. You have 80 years of experience in dog grooming or whatever the hell it is that you're doing. Okay, so that's why I'm kind of just like chilling, because I know that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, and I'm still looking the same way, feeling the same way, doing the same thing, haven't changed a bit. Maybe I've gained more knowledge, because how can you help not gain knowledge when you're in a world where all you can do is just read and watch people and take on their data. Every single time I get exposed to the COVID, I'm taking on somebody's data. So I'm actively taking on data, and I have no problem with it. I'm not trying to, like, I stay home right now because it's what I'm doing. I'm writing a book. I'm dealing with, adapting to my environment. But I have no problem going to Walmart or whatever to take care of stuff. Though I know that if I'm contagious, I'm not going to probably go to Walmart like I wanted to today. I'm not going to go because I know that if I go and I don't want to wear a mask, is that being, I got to balance out, and I get it. But I didn't really know I was done with COVID stuff this weekend when I was around my friends, but they already had their headaches and stuff like that. So we've all of us have been exposed in some way. But do I want to expound? Do I want to really compound the issue? Not really. So I'm just going to stay home and just control myself, show some restraint. But I do stay home a lot, which is fine. And then when I do get exposed to it, I will adapt. And it's not that difficult. Okay? But so I know that time is on my side. Time is not on many of your guys' side because you still believe that people should die. Okay? Another thing too, vaccines. Vaccines are amazing. I'll tell you why. Because they hold the virus. Even if it's an attenuated version, they hold minerals. They hold everything in the microbiome. Vaccines actually are a representation of your microbiome. They might have parts of like, viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, bacteria, and fungus. There's different elements, okay, and different parts of the microbiome in vaccines. And then so, if anything, a vaccine would give somebody an extra data. And then, of course, when you're doing the J juice, it's going to help you process that data and help you adapt to the new environment. And it might be an easier adaptation than if you weren't getting a vaccine and you're doing the J juice and you get exposed to something, you might have a harder time adapting. So the thing with J juice and vaccines, they really do go hand in hand because it's still going to be an adaptation process no matter what. But at least you know with the J juice, it's gonna help you repair any damage as you're adapting. Well, why would you say a vaccine's damage? You're not supposed to damage. No, because anytime you adapt to any new environment, your body has to go through an adaptation process. And if you have issues in your 11 different systems, you're going to feel the body adapt. And then what you're going to think is pain and sickness and badness. You're going to apply the wrong elements to it. And that's why people go downhill. That's why people have this whole concept that vaccines cause damage. No, vaccines are an adaptation. Right now, I have no vaccine in me. I'm adapting to this COVID, but my body is pretty strong, and I've already went through all the different adaptations from the prior mutations, and so my adaptation is easier, okay? So, which means that I'll be fine. My adaptation is fine, okay? So if I had a weaker body, if I had like a couple years ago, okay, the adaptation process would be harder. And that's when people get diagnosable diseases because their adaptation process is harder. So when you get diagnosed with cancer, when you get diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, when you get diagnosed with autism, with all these different issues, that is a body trying to adapt and you are not giving it what it needs. And so it's going to keep looping in that same wanting to adapt. And then eventually the body's going to give out. Or modern medicines come in and try to disarm and disable that mechanism, and then they deaden that part of the body. So you see people out there that have been through all the different procedures out there that are probably like 20% dead. Just like when you go out to like the Louisiana, and when they have oil spills, there's dead parts of the marshlands. Okay, that's so different when you are taking all these different antibiotics, different drugs, and taking out organs and limbs and all these different things through modern medicine. You are deadening parts of your body, but you're still living. People live without thyroids. They live without gallbladders, and they live without appendixes. But when you're taking out parts of your system, you are systematically destroying yourself. Okay, so yeah, you can live at 60% capacity, but then as you keep trying to adapt and you're not giving your body what it needs, and you have leaky gut, and you're not maximizing the nutritional food supply and everything because you can't absorb, then you start seeing that you're going from 50% to then later on when you get exposed to more viruses because you can't live in a bubble. Then now you're at 40%, and then you're at 30%. Just like watching your battery drain when you're using your phone and you're plugging it in and you unplug it and you're out there walking around. You're from 100% to then 98% to then 80% and then 70%, and then you keep doing your Facebook stuff, and all of a sudden now you're down to 0%. That's what goes on in humanity. And so Jelly Juice recharges your battery, and it keeps recharging your battery. But you have to understand what you're recharging and why, and what pain is. Okay? And the only thing that's really, the only thing that I really can actually vouch for in biotech is the vaccine industry. I'm telling you, that's the only thing I can vouch for. Everything else is just like, ways to deaden parts of your body so you don't feel anything, so you can still get back in the game. But instead of at 90%, now you're at 70%. Oh, but I'm still working. I just have to cut down my work schedule. Okay. How is that helping you really in the long run? Because then you're going to watch your battery drain from this, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so, yes, so I can now, which is such a trippy thing, because I used to be anti-vax. And I realized that vaccines are what actually is going to save humanity with the J juice. Okay? You can still be exposed to the virus, that's fine, but if you're on the J juice and you're just starting and you're getting exposed to a virus, you better have some kind of intermediary to help you out. And if not, then your healing process with J juice is going to be so freaking intense. But it's going to be intense anyways if you have so many predispositions. Okay? So that's my little speech for today. I'm still going to rest today because I'm still tired. My brain is still foggy. I had a few sips of coffee. I didn't feel like writing yesterday. I'm not really feeling like writing today. But I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that viruses are the key to evolution, but you have to have a very well-balanced body, and you have to support your body in such a way where it can handle these adaptation processes. Okay? So I really wish that biotech that deals with vaccines understood the power of J juice, because it would really give them a backup measure to where they don't have to deal with the backlash of people who are saying the vaccines are destroying them, when in actuality it's people who are destroying themselves. But it's like, people are not going to take responsibility for their own predispositions. They're going to blame the nearest thing. So at some point, I'm hoping that biotech would understand chili juice, not as a remedy, not as something superficial, but as a way of life, coupled with the vaccine. Because right now we have 7 billion people who are still in the process of evolving, adapting, and they're going to need help. They're going to need help with transitioning to the new environment of this new virus, and they're going to need help with recalibrating their body, mind, and spirit with the right chemistry. Cabbage, water, and salt, white salt, fermented. Okay? And so I'm so happy I figured this out. I'm so happy I figured this out. And I know where I can fill in the gaps, where I can merge, or what do you call it? Yeah, I can fill in the gaps and say, okay, how can biotech and chili juice work hand in hand and complement each other? And the vaccine industry is the best way. So those that are against vaccines because they have predispositions that they have failed to really, really take control over, and so it won't matter if they meet that virus in the environment or they see it in an injection, they're going to have a hard time adapting. And some may not survive the exposure, or they'll have so many years taken off their life, they won't know the difference until down the road when they get diagnosed, because they haven't taken care of their own predispositions. So either way, whatever, take it for what it's worth. Do the J juice, get my book, jillyjuice.com, and at least understand the whole point of chili juice, why there's no diet, why I changed from the pink salt to the white salt, why sugar is not the enemy, and understand your microbiome, what antibodies are. And then my next book is going to then show you how chili juice thought process manifests into all of these social revolutions. Well, chili doesn't manifest it, but how I perceive it, and what my my take on it. Okay, and that maybe you need to take yourself out of the war for you to then finally win the war within. When you're not fighting out there, you're winning the war in here, because it really is about you. Okay? All right, I'm going to go do my thing, but yeah, I'm still dealing with calibrating to this COVID. All right, bye.